This is integrated logistics management. Okay, so we'll go with this topic. Global logistics, we'll try to compare global as well as domestic versions. Then international distribution and of course the trade blocks. So this is especially for you, my dear students and young researchers, and you can reach me at dr.christoananth@gmail.com. So before beginning the session, once again, let me thank God for giving me this opportunity to deliver this useful session to share my knowledge among my fellow national, international participants, students, and young researchers, right? So in this class, we'll go with global logistics, what actually drives the demand for global logistics industry. Then we'll try to compare global as well as domestic logistics, and especially about international logistics and distribution. What is the logistic chain process? Okay. And of course, the nature and characteristics of the goods. We'll describe in specifically about the cargo unit, then the different modes of transportation, the transportation process, legislation and standards involved in this one, and we'll try to identify the different types of trading blocks in the SCM and logistics and how it will affect the supply chain. Okay, so I hope that you would have already completed the assignments. Okay, so at regular intervals, I'll be giving you some short videos to discuss the knowledge in our topics. Right. So global logistics, of course, we have been understanding and studying logistics in a smaller scale, and we'll go on with global logistics, where you are going to connect critical components of the supply chain from the point of origin of the product to the point of the actual consumption, so that you're going to ensure timely and of course efficient distribution of goods from the producers and of course to the consumers even. So back in 2021, we'll had the global volume of merchandise trade was around like $46 trillion according to WTO. So global logistics industry also, we had a good flow of goods in the worldwide fashion. Okay, so global logistics, it's naturally it's a process. Okay, largely it's a science, but also it's an art of how you try to manage the flow of goods through the supply chain from the place where they are made to the place where they are consumed. So which means that from the point of origin to the point of consumption. So we'll have like shipping, seeds, fertilizers even. That's how you try to feed it to the grain farmer, sending harvested grain to a processing mill, trucking floor to the industrial bakery, sending containers, more and more loads of items, okay, consumable items to the distribution center, and then you try to deliver them to the restaurants. Okay, so global logistics will have movement of goods. Of course, all these modes: truck, train, ship, or maybe a plane even, and also how you try to prepare, package, of course, store these goods in the distribution centers, and of course, logistics, real estate facilities even. So using global logistics, we are going to strengthen the collaboration between the host of the business partners for a long-term relationship. Okay, so if you take in the case of shipping companies or maybe airlines, railroads, and even trucking companies even try to move these goods, and this is what global delivery services are going to manage them the efficient ways. Okay, so logistics, real estate companies even, they try to operate these facilities using the transportation means, how you go for management, storage, distribution as well, through the software, security, labor, and of course business means with the new techniques like maybe AI or maybe ML or maybe blockchain for the global logistics system working even. So what actually drives this demand for the global logistics industry? Okay, so we'll have three fundamental or maybe basic trends: increasing consumption, rise in demand, rising e-commerce, and of course the reconfiguration of the supply chain. So this is what helps to move the goods more quickly and of course more efficiently enough. So when you go with global logistics, and of course it's going to play an essential role in the world economy. So that's what it's going to drive. So time is very, very important, cost is important, and of course no compromise in quality. So this is going to drive the global logistics, and of course very important, location. So where you're going to choose this one. Okay, so that's okay. So other considerations will have like cost and availability of relevant and suitable labor, presence and reliability of the essential business partners, geopolitical and of course geographical risk and stability even. Okay, so this is where you're going to have the point of origin to the point of consumption. That's how you determine the location, the choice of the warehouse location as well. That's going to be a success factor for the distribution centers, transport hubs, terminals, intermodal terminals, and of course other infrastructure even. So location is how you are going to efficiently track the transport routes, and of course densely populated centers even, so that will be providing 24/7 support to the consumers. Okay, of course we try to compare with the domestic logistics. It's distributing goods within your own country. Okay, while international logistics, you are going beyond the country line. Okay, so dealing with the domestic transportation, of course it's quite different to what you are going to deal with the international means. So we'll understand the process. Management. Okay, whether you take in the case of metro transport or maybe FTL, full truckload, or maybe dangerous goods, point to point delivery maybe do down the road, or maybe other part can be done very much easily within the day or maybe within the week. But if you pass through several tolls before reaching, it will be tough. So on the contrary, like international logistics, we'll have different set of commercial operational managers who will set an entire plan for the delivery overseas. So without planning, it's not very easy. Okay. And of course the costs. So cost involved in both the process, you have to consider it individually. So maybe based on transportation modes, based on technology, and of course manpower, it's involved. And of course the taxes which are involved in both the transportation, it's different. So for the international, it will be much more costly than the domestic means. Transportation. So when you are going across the boundary, so you should be able to choose many transportation options, maybe like truck, metro, or maybe road transportation facilities, especially for the pallet, forklifted, and maybe skidded fashion even. Okay, so but if you go beyond the country's boundary, you have very limited options. Okay. And logistics chain even. Okay, so we'll go with how you try to efficiently manage the logistics. So that is how you try to satisfy and cater to the demands of the international markets. Okay, so it's not just about products that is going to compete, but logistic chains which are going to participate in the process. So we'll have combinations of manufacturers, distributors, and of course logistics operators even, who try to collaborate in order to work together to provide the best efficiency, and of course keeping the cost as low as possible without any compromise on the quality. So logistic chains is all about how you try to drive the specialized high capacity intermodal logistical hubs, of course better utilization of networks and transportation infrastructure elements as well. So this is how it goes from the operation logistics to the platform logistics. We'll have the international important, then for the export as well. So this is how collaboration also happens in the same supply chain as well. How you go for optimized means, optimized resources, minimizing the need for stock, and of course reducing the supply chain through the use of cross trade operations. Okay, for example like lean manufacturing, that will also strengthen the collaboration process. Okay, so you can better efficiently manage this information flows. You can go for product traceability, and of course you can carry e-commerce to the best fashion. Okay, so complexity also is there. Okay, so that makes the services much more very important. That is the urgent need that allows the exporter to focus instead of developing its advantages. Okay, so we try to go for scheduling for the logistics chain, so that when the company plans to go for that import export process, then definitely scheduling or maybe planning comes. Okay, because that it is going to affect everything from the design of the containers or maybe packages to the delivery terms that will be agreed in that particular sales or maybe agreement contract, that we have several aspects. Okay, but if you go for in addition to the cost, okay, with regards to all of the logistical operations, so these are the main elements that you should consider: nature and characteristics of goods, the cargo unit, mode of transportation, the process, the transportation process, legislation and standards, logistics in the international sales contract. Okay, so you should take care of this one. When you go for nature and characteristics of goods, so you are going to determine the configuration of the cargo unit, and of course the mode of transportation that you try to utilize, as well as your storage and handling systems. So that is how you make a difference with the general cargo, especially with the loose units, maybe like fractionated cargo, or maybe if it is in pallets, it's unitary cargo that is shipped in the containers. Then you have bulk cargo, which can be shipped in containers or maybe like transportation units, or else you can go for bulk ship holds as well, oil tankers, tanker lorries, and so on. Then you have oversized cargo, which means there are some special conditions for handling or transportation. Then controlled temperature cargo, which means that it should be maintained under a specified temperature. So refrigerated, frozen, ultra frozen, or maybe very hot. So that you have to maintain. Then we have dangerous goods, okay, particularly those which falls under international regulation. We have ADR convention, which is agreement concerning the international carriage of the dangerous goods by road, okay. And then we have IMDG code, okay, international code for maritime transport of the dangerous goods in the packaged form. Then we have ITA DGR, okay, so that is International Air Transport Association dangerous good regulation rules, and RAD convention, agreements concerning the international carriage of the dangerous goods by rail. So we see that we have like different modes, but the acts accordingly we have that fashion, okay. So rolling cargo, we have like several platforms. Maybe you can roll it on wheels, or maybe lorry trailers, trucks, train, cars even, and maybe you will have like other valuable goods or maybe live animals that you can transport across different modes. Then we have the cargo unit. So when you say cargo unit, of course, strength is important. Stability is very, very important. So maybe through containers, through packaging, that you will use it for transporting the products. Okay. As I told you, fractionated cargo, unitary cargo. So it's fractionated cargo where you can group it into pallets. Okay. So that is going to once shrink wrap. Okay. That will be having like different individual cargo units that can be easily handled, managed, and stored properly. Okay. So that is how you will develop the security and safety concerns and contributes to efficient handling even. So pallets, normally you transport it in the CTUs, cargo transport units. So that is specially built for the intermodal shipping. So CTUs are usually like shipping containers, like portable boxes, freight train cars, or maybe lorry trailers even. And maybe loading or maybe consolidation of this container, we should try to follow some standards for the exporting company or maybe the logistics operator. So some standards should be maintained. So either it will be like FCL, like full container load, or maybe like it's a LCL, less than container load. So this is the specification. Then about the modes of transportation. So it's entirely dependent on the destination country which you are going to transport. Okay. So the nature, the value, the volume of the goods, and your planned delivery time. Okay. So transit company even will try to advise the exporter with respect to what are the itineraries are available, modes that are available, what is the shipping mode available, what is the combination mode that you'll go with the intermodal transportation, so that the length of the journey is weighed. Okay. Then maritime, where the contract is actually formalized in the BOL, Bill of Lading. Okay. Then road, where the contract is actually formalized in the CMR convention. Okay. So CMR convention with the transportation acts you can compare into, and then air, which is regulated by the Montreal Convention, and maybe with the contract specialized in the air carrier letter. Then with the railway, it is we have the contract, okay, for the international carriage of goods by rail, CIM convention. So several goods which are actually packed into the containers travel on the container ships that follow the intercontinental routes. So there are also other goods, maybe you can travel by air, maybe controlled temperature products, valuable goods, live animals, replacement parts. Maybe you can go across the continent, maybe by lorry or maybe train on for the longer flight. We'll go through the series of process in the international shipping chain. Okay, so we'll go for signing of the shipping contract between the loading company, maybe like exporter or maybe importer, okay, and the international logistics operator. Then we have to go for collection of goods in the exporting company's warehouse, generally maybe using lorries, that's preferable. Goods are actually sent to the shipping terminal, maybe full container, or maybe to the warehouse of the logistics operator. So that's a fractionated cargo. So that's especially for the pallet case, we'll be using this one. And we'll go for handling and storage at the logistics platform of the transport operator or maybe terminal. Then we'll go for loading as well as packing onto the means of transportation. Maybe you'll go for ship, train, lorry, or maybe airplane after the customs process. Then shipping of goods by the main means of transport. Then unpacking and unloading at the destination terminal and imports custom. Then handling and storage at the shipping terminal or maybe logistics platform of the international transport operator. Then transportation of goods with the full container, okay, to the importing company's warehouse, or maybe after deconsolidation of the container if maybe fractionated cargo is involved. Okay, so that is how it will go from origin to the destination. We'll go with different modes: rail, maritime, road, across the physical force. Then the legislation and the standards. Okay, so when you involve international means we have to go on with several standards. So that's the way you try to advise the exporting or maybe importing company what are the laws that are applicable, what are the standards that are applicable, okay, for each of the shipping operation. So whether you should have any particular standards with regards to loading company. Okay, so we'll go for a quick review. We'll go for packing and securing of cargo, storage and transportation of dangerous goods, storage and transportation of perishable products or maybe products especially for the human consumption, and transport of the protected species. This is important. So SCM has become much more increasingly fragmented and of course much more complex, even with the more than the domestic means in the global scenario. It has become much more tough. Even there are many challenges. We'll have shrinking market windows, inventory carrying cost, supplier fragmentation that makes the supply chain process much more difficult. Okay, so countries also have started to fragment once the supply chains into smaller segments or maybe fragments called as the trading block. So it's a trading block. It's actually a trade agreement between the group of countries in order to reduce or maybe to avoid, to remove the trade barriers between the members of the union. So we'll have like free trade areas or zones. Even we'll have preferential trade agreements which allow the member countries to have a preferential access to the certain products from other member countries as well. We'll have custom unions that is going to have the free trade area with the common external stuff. Then we'll have common markets that made up of free trade area in which physical, technical, and of course fiscal barriers are actually reduced as much as possible. Then we have economic unions. So we'll have like common market and of course customs union. Okay. Then we'll have customs and monetary unions. We'll have like customs and currency union that will be sharing the same external trade policy and of course currency even. Then we have economic and monetary union. We'll have the common market, customs union, and of course the monetary union. Okay, so that we'll have different types of trading blocks in the SCM process. Okay, we'll have several associations where we'll have like NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, EFTA, European Free Trade Association, CARICOM, Caribbean Community. Then we have African Union, UNASUR, the Union of South American Nations. We have EURASEC, the Eurasian Economic Community, Arab League, AL, okay, ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Then we have CEFTA, the Central European Free Trade Agreement, and of course PIF, okay, Pacific Islands Forum. We have several of the regional trading blocks. And finally, the effect of the trading blocks on the supply chains. So in order to understand this better, we have to go for understanding the effects on the supply chains within the block and of course outside the block. So when you sustain to this gravity model, countries which are closer with the geographically close areas definitely will be having or maybe enjoying high volume of the trade. So gravity model is actually used in order to predict the movement of the people, the ideas between two population centers. So that is how you will understand the transportation cost and of course the barriers involved in it. Okay, So even that will be low enough, like countries which are closer, which means that they become trading partner and they will be forming the trading block even. Okay, so they can enjoy much more benefits with the trading blocks, especially with the volume, quantity, and of course better prices, and of course low tariffs even. So that is the advantage of the trading blocks, especially on the supply chain. Even with the membership, even it's much more easier and of course less complicated even. Okay, and with the smaller number, we can enjoy concessions, we can have some discounts even, so that makes the process much more easier even. So with members participating in the entire process, we can come out with the political as well as economic advantage even. So that's the advantage that you can enjoy with the trading blocks.